Rain left the arena, not cheering, not booing, something stranger. The sound carried the same energy ancient civilizations must have felt while watching storms swallow coastlines. Fear wrapped inside fascination. The galaxy had spent generations worshipping the Rain bloodline from a safe distance. Now they were watching one unravel in real time. Kenny walked through the arena exit tunnel with Lyra beside him and Pines waiting further ahead near the spectator descent rails. Medical drones buzzed overhead while holographic betting numbers updated across the walls around them. Contestants remaining 322,400. Above the number, the public ranking board burned gold across the arena walls. Current kill leader, Kenny Rain, 16 kills. Kenny glanced toward the number briefly. 78 dead already, and the official challenges had barely begun. Lyra caught him looking. Gets uglier before it gets slower. Kenny said nothing. Pines stepped beside them as they exited into the lower transit district. "Well," Pines announced proudly, "we survived public murder television." Lyra looked at him. "You say that like there's private murder television." Pines pointed dramatically toward the giant projection screens overhead. "Everything in Astrovault is public murder television. Fair point. Far from Nero Vega, beyond the fold gates, beyond the endless merchant lanes and military relay systems. The planet Varanth slept beneath thunderclouds and frozen rain. Black oceans hammered against cliffside fortress cities, while orbital shield systems shimmered invisibly above the atmosphere, like ghosts wrapped around the planet. At the center of the largest fortress, within a chamber built from volcanic stone and old war steel, 3 men watched Kenny Rain leave the arena on a projection screen taller than a house. Lord Rain stood silently with his hands folded behind his back. Beside him sat the old patriarch of House Rain himself, Cassian Rain. The man looked ancient by ordinary standards, though Eclipse medicine and gene therapy had preserved enough strength in him to remain intimidating. White hair hung loose over broad shoulders while old scars crossed his face like fractures through stone. The third man leaned casually against a war table scattered with military projections and Eclipse statistics. Darius Rain, Lord Rain's younger brother, Kenny's uncle. Unlike the others, Darius looked amused. On the projection screen, Kenny disappeared into the lower transit crowds alongside Pines and Lyra while betting feeds updated across the display. Cassian Rain spoke first. "He embarrasses the bloodline every hour he breathes." Darius snorted softly. "He wins every hour too." Lord Rain's eyes remained fixed on the screen. "The dagger style spreads uncertainty." "No," Darius corrected. "It spreads fear." Cassian turned toward him slowly. "Fear without discipline becomes chaos." Darius smiled faintly. "And discipline without humanity creates monsters." The room cooled instantly. Lord Rain finally looked toward his brother. Darius shrugged. "What? We pretending we're noble tonight?" Cassian's expression hardened. "The House of Rain brought order to worlds abandoned by weak governments." "Sure," Darius replied calmly. "And we also disappear journalists, execute dissidents, and train children like livestock beneath mountains." Neither man answered. The silence confirmed enough. On Varanth, House Rain ruled absolutely. The public across human space saw honorable planetary rulers preserving ancient warrior traditions. They did not see the prison sectors buried beneath Soulgrave. They did not see political enemies disappearing beneath the oceans of Wellis. They did not see children trained until bones cracked inside hidden compounds beneath frozen mountains. And they certainly did not know how many people House Rain had quietly erased to preserve their image. Darius folded his arms. "You're both worried he'll expose us." Cassian scoffed. "Kenny lacks the courage." "No," Darius corrected softly. "He lacks loyalty." That landed harder. Lord Rain's jaw tightened almost invisibly. Darius noticed, then smiled. "There it is." Cassian looked irritated now. "You speak as though the boy is your son." "No," Darius replied. "If he were mine, he would have known his mother loved him." The chamber went still, for the first time since Kenny entered Eclipse. Lord Rain visibly reacted. Not rage, pain, small, controlled, but real. Darius pushed off the table. "You know what the difference between you and the rest of us is, brother." Lord Rains said nothing. Darius looked back toward the screen where Kenny's slowed dagger strikes replayed in impossible detail. You're the first real monster this family ever made. Cassian stood abruptly. Enough. No, Darius replied calmly. You bred a weapon and forgot weapons eventually learn where they're pointed. Lord Rain's eyes hardened again. He is Rain. Darius laughed quietly. That's exactly the problem. The projection shifted again. Updated rankings appeared beside Kenny's face. 1. Kenny Rain, 16 total kills. 2. Vera Kest, 5 kills. 3. Lyra Voss, 3 kills. Just beneath the visible ranking cutoff sat 4. Pines Var, 3 kills. Helix Moore's name was gone entirely. Dead. Cassian stared at the rankings. He draws too much attention. Darius smirked. You entered a hidden apex predator into the most watched event in human history. What exactly did you expect? The old patriarch slowly sat back down. He will either strengthen House Rain. Lord Rain's gaze never left Kenny's image on the screen, or destroy it. Back on Nero Vega, neon lights reflected across wet streets while Kenny, Pines, and Lyra moved through the lower commercial districts of Astrovault. The atmosphere outside official arena zones felt completely different, less organized, more alive. Contestants wandered between crowded market stalls carrying fresh weapons and fresh injuries while vendors shouted over one another advertising armor modifications, synthetic organs, ammunition, stimulants, and illegally enhanced combat gear. Massive projection towers replayed challenge highlights overhead. Kenny's fight with Helix had already become a featured analysis segment. One replay showed the exact moment Kenny crossed beneath Helix's sword line. Another slowed his final strike down so far it looked more like smoke passing through flesh. Pines pointed upward proudly. Look at that, we're educational. Lyra laughed. You say we very generously. Excuse me, Pines replied. I was emotionally essential. Kenny's eyes drifted toward another giant display showing live contestant numbers. Contestants remaining, 322,400. Current kill leader, Kenny Rain, 16 kills. He frowned slightly. That many dead already? Lyra looked at him. You really never watched Eclipse growing up? No. Pines answered for him. Calum 9 wasn't exactly a family holiday resort. Lyra's expression softened slightly. Then Kenny asked seriously, how does it last 4 years if people die this quickly? Pines and Lyra exchanged a glance. Then Pines nodded. Right, fair question. Lyra gestured upward toward the city around them. The first months are always bloodbaths. Everyone's desperate, Pines added. Big numbers, big egos, easy sponsorships. Half the idiots entering Eclipse think they're secretly the main character. Most aren't, Lyra said. Most become educational examples, Pines finished. Kenny listened silently while they walked. Pines continued. But once numbers start thinning out, things change. How? Lyra gestured around the city. This place becomes real. Kenny looked at her. The lower the contestant count gets, the more political Eclipse becomes, she explained. People form territories, alliances, trade networks, protection groups. Mini-governments, basically, Pines added. 1 year there was a bloke running an entire black market noodle empire out of District 9. Lyra laughed. Oh gods, I remember him. He got assassinated over soup taxes. He deserved it. Pines pointed dramatically at Kenny. See, this is Eclipse. Eventually everyone realizes surviving matters more than constant fighting. Lyra nodded. Contestants start controlling supply routes, safe houses, medical stations, information networks. And betrayals get way nastier, Pines added happily. Kenny looked upward toward Astrovault's endless skyline. So the city changes. Exactly, Lyra replied. The games stop feeling like a tournament. Pines grinned. They start feeling like civilization collapsing in slow motion. That thought stayed with Kenny. For the first time since entering Astrovault, he looked around not like a fighter entering a battlefield, but like someone studying a future country. Lyra suddenly pointed toward a food vendor. Oh, stop! You two need to try crater wraps. Pines looked offended. Need is a strong word. They're amazing. The meat glows. That means flavor. That means radiation. Lyra ignored him and dragged them toward the stall. The vendor froze briefly upon recognizing Kenny. then immediately straightened. Lord Rain. Kenny looked mildly uncomfortable hearing it. Just Kenny. The vendor blinked twice. Pines leaned toward Lyra quietly. See, that right there? That's how you know he's dangerous. The vendor nervously prepared their food while nearby contestants openly stared. Not all of them hostile anymore. Some curious, some impressed, a few even respectful. One younger contestant walking past nodded toward Kenny. Good fights today. Kenny returned the nod once. Pines looked genuinely shocked. Oh, we're socializing now. Kenny ignored him. For the next hour they moved through the lower market districts buying, sharpening kits, ration packs, reinforced clothing layers, portable medical supplies, water filters, and storage packs. Lyra handled most of the bargaining, aggressively. At one point she nearly threatened a vendor over ammunition prices while Pines watched like he'd discovered religion. You're terrifying, he told her. Thank you. No, genuinely. Meanwhile, Kenny mostly observed. The people, the city, the contestants. Astrovault no longer looked like pure chaos now. It looked like pressure. Pressure shaping human beings into something harder. Or uglier. Sometimes both. Eventually, they returned toward District 17 carrying bags of supplies while artificial night settled across the city. The bunker welcomed them with quiet mechanical hums and reinforced doors sealing behind them. For the first time since entering Eclipse, it almost felt like home. Almost. Pines dumped supplies onto the table dramatically. We live another day. Lyra immediately began organizing everything properly because Pines had the inventory discipline of a raccoon. Kenny sat near the weapon bench and quietly unpacked sharpening tools. The room settled into comfortable silence surprisingly quickly. Pines eventually collapsed onto one sleeping pod. Lyra sat cross-legged beside the bunker wall cleaning her hook blade. Kenny watched the screen overhead. Contestants remaining 319,400. Current top rankings. 1. Kenny Rain, 16 kills. 2. Vara Kest, 5 kills. 3. Lyra Voss, 3 kills. Just beneath the visible ranking cutoff. 4. Pines, Var, 3 kills. Still dropping, still bleeding. Outside, Astrovault continued roaring beneath artificial eclipse skies. Inside the bunker, 3 contestants sat together beneath dim lights surrounded by fresh supplies, sharpened weapons, and the strange beginning of trust. And somewhere far away across the stars, House Rain watched too.